Behind me is one of the most recognisable stadiums in world football, the home of Manchester United. They've played here since 1910, but the club are a lot older than that. Before they came Manchester United, they had a completely different name. They played in completely different colours. And before they played at Old Trafford, they had 2 other stadiums, meaning that Manchester United have played at 3 home stadiums. You're definitely going to learn something new about Manchester United in this video. If you're a football fan, if you're a Man United fan, you're gonna love this. Please hit the like button, please subscribe if you're new, and let's go and check out the old abandoned homes of Manchester United. And so, you know when Manchester United fans will wear green and gold scarves to protest like the Glazers or whatever, that's not just a random thing, that's not just a random colour going against the sort of red that they are now. That is because the old team that they once were, Newton Heath LYR, later Newton Heath, and later Manchester United, they actually played in green and gold. So it's like a hark back to those older times. And here I am now at the very first home of Manchester United, and doesn't it look fantastic? I will overlay a image of where I am right now compared to where the old stadium was, so that, as you can see from the map, it's sort of in between those 2 roundabouts, and that's where I am now. There's a roundabout over there and one down there. So where I'm standing just here is the map that I've just shown you on screen of where the first ever Man United stadium was, but they weren't called Man United then, of course. Now there should be a plaque somewhere to tell us that the old Man United ground was once here. There's something up here. It doesn't look like the plaque I've seen online, but I've read that the one that was once here was actually stolen and never replaced. So I don't know if that information's old or whatever. Yeah, this isn't it. Oh, this is to mark the opening of the Fujitsu Services building. So we've got a plaque to mark the Fujitsu Services building, but there has to be some big gleaming object to say that this is where Manchester United began. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Man United, I will admit it, personally, as a football fan. The people who know me will know that, but I love football heritage and I really respect what Manchester United have achieved, rivalries aside, and I think it's sad that such a historic location like this doesn't have a huge big sign in the middle saying this is where it all began for one of the world's most successful football teams. As you can see here, look, you are here, right? And that says Northampton Road Business Park. This is now Northampton Road. However, when Man United played here, it was called North Road. And yet, from their earliest point, Man United were actually called Newton Heath, Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway Football Club. And that was from 1878 until 1893 when they played around here. The team initially played against other railway teams within the area. It would have been an industrial place, not like now where it's all modern and shiny, as you can see, with all the police headquarters, Fujitsu campuses and Madison places. But yeah, it would have been a very industrial place, this part of Manchester, and so they would have played other industrial teams. That was until 1888 when they joined the Combination. There was a few football leagues to begin with before like the Football League came about that we know today. They joined the Combination, then they joined the Football Alliance, which was a bit of a competitor to the Football League, but eventually that got swallowed up by the Football League and I think became the 2nd division. So they were sort of one of the earliest founders of league football. It was in the late 1890s that Man United finally joined the Football League, and they dropped, I keep saying Man United, that Newton Heath LYR joined the Football League, Lancashire and Yorkshire Railwaymen, and they actually dropped the LYR a little bit later. The railway company and the football team were starting to become split, and thus they changed their name just to Newton Heath. It was around that time that they moved stadium from here, their original home, North Road, to a place called Bank Street. But before I take you to Bank Street, I will just overlay the picture of the plaque that I cannot seem to find anywhere. I'm sure there's people from the local area who might know where it's moved to, or if it's been re-erected or whatever after it was stolen, but it would be a real shame if it was just stolen and never put back. Like I say, not the biggest fan of Man United myself, but I really respect what they've done as a club down the years, and for this to be their first home and for there to be sort of nothing to commemorate that is a little bit sad. They played here for around 15 years and the capacity was anywhere from 12,000 to about 15,000 people. It was bumpy and stony during the summer and essentially unplayable, boggy and disgusting during the winter. So it was North Road first, now of course Northampton Road. Then they played at a place called Bank Street, and I think there should be something at Bank Street to commemorate that was United's second home, and I think that could be where they actually became Manchester United as well. We're going to get into the facts when we get there, but yeah, how many Man United fans out there knew that this is where they started? I mean, you think of Man United and just being synonymous with Old Trafford, but how many of you out there knew that they had 2 homes before they settled at Old Trafford, which is of course where they are now? Anyway, it's time to leave behind the disappointing North Road, where there's nothing to commemorate one of the greatest teams in the world having once played here, and head to their second home, where I think there should be something to commemorate Man United, Newton Heath, playing there. Wow, the interesting thing about this is that through there, those like spikes that you see just past that industrial estate, that is part of the Etihad Stadium, the Man City Stadium now, which is a walkable distance from where Man United once played. They obviously knew Man City for a while as the noisy neighbours, didn't they? That term doesn't really get spoken about anymore. Here, of course, City are known from the area of Eastlands, which is where we are. So there should be a plaque around here somewhere to commemorate Man United's old ground. We're going to head round this road right now, but yeah, really super interesting to see that, look, City's ground is right over there, but this used to be the heart of Newton Heath, of Manchester United. Ah, right, here we go. Look, I can see it now. Coming into view, look, do you see it? Just up here, look at that. Yeah, there we go. Wow, I'll grab a quick picture of it on my phone and overlay it if you can't see it on here very well, but that says, opposite this plaque was the Bank Street ground, home of Manchester United, formerly Newton Heath FC, and that was their ground from 1893 to 1910. So it would have been right there. As I mentioned at North Road, or Northampton Road as it is now, this is sort of around the time when Man United moved here, when Newton Heath LYR moved here. They dropped LYR from their name, and I guess they focused less on being like a work company team and more on being an actual like professional football team wanting to progress within the world game. How are you?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, good. You a Man United fan?
Yeah.
It's Matt, their old ground used to be here.
Yeah.
There's that plaque. Yeah, oh, that used to be it there.
Plaque somewhere along there.
Mate, I've literally just seen it around there. Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? Yeah.
That's why I went to move from Newton Heath to there.
That's right, yeah, crazy, mate. Do you know what this building is now then?
Hey?
Do you know what this building is now?
That's the cycling centre.
Oh, cycling centre. So they're cycling where the old Man United team used to play.
Yeah.
Oh, amazing, mate. Nice one. Cheers. There we go. Man United fan there. Always good to chat to a local or two because they know a little bit more about the area than what I do. Obviously, he knew the plaque was here, which I've already seen, but that's apparently now a cycling centre. Good that it's still used for sport, but sad in a way that, you know, it's not for football. So Newton Heath's first Football League match was here, where I'm pretty much standing right now, just over the road there, was against Burnley, and they won 3-2. A good start to life for them at their new ground. Alf Farman scored a hat-trick in front of around 10,000 people. So yeah, look at it now, a cycling centre. This cycling centre is probably in way better nick than what the old Newton Heath Stadium was, I suppose. But after that first initial win against Burnley, they're an ambitious old club, Newton Heath, and they started to build stands and really build it up and sort of make it their own. Apparently this place was near a chemical plant at the time, and when the team were losing, there was a bit of a conspiracy that they would pump out more chemicals. But how would that really help them? I know it would hinder the away team, but it must also really hurt them as well. But look, there's that plaque up there to commemorate. This is where it is, look, right in the centre there of them houses. That is the plaque to commemorate Manchester United, or Newton Heath, once playing here. Absolutely fascinating that one of the biggest football teams in the world once played here. And look, here we go. Look, if we just come around here now, we should get an even better vantage point of what is now the cycling centre, as that cool guy told me just earlier on, and what used to be Man United's home. And look, there you can see the Etihad through there. Oh look, we've got an even better view of the Etihad. Look at that. Front and centre right there, right between the trees and the cycling centre. That is the Etihad. So look how close Man United would have once played to where Man City currently are. Wow, that's mad. In the late 1890s, there were even more ground improvements to try and improve the facilities of Newton Heath Football Club. The combination of this and ever-increasing player wages put the club in financial turmoil. By 1902, they were given a winding up order, and the stadium that is now behind me, that was once their football stadium, was due to be repossessed. That was until a businessman stepped in to save the day. Wealthy local brewer John Henry Davis invested £2,000 along with 4 other men who also invested £2,000 each, including the club captain at the time, and they saved the club. And that is when the club were renamed Manchester United. It was still when they were playing here, funnily enough, the stadium that almost bankrupted them, that is now a cycling centre. This is where they became Manchester United, and that was in 1902. And so when you look at Man United's history, would you say they were formed in 1902, or would you say they were formed in the 1800s when Newton Heath were formed? They kind of have 2 formation dates in a way, don't they? Yeah, and now that John Henry Davis was the owner of the club really had no more ties to Newton Heath LYR, or the railway thing that it was sort of associated with at first, the company that it was associated with at first. And so that was sort of a reason for the name change, and to try and appeal to a wider Manchester audience as well, try and get more fans in. If it was just Newton Heath, then that kind of suggested just the people from Newton Heath should sort of support them. But calling them Manchester United gave them a more open outlook towards the city. There were a few names that were suggested, Manchester Celtic, Manchester Central, but eventually they stuck on Man United. And so even though they had been sold at the time, there still had to be a big cash injection to start improving the club. Of course, they were in the 2nd division at that point, and then in the early 1900s they hired a man who would change everything. Ernest Magnell became the manager of Manchester United, and he finally took them from the 2nd division up to the 1st division and brought them their first sort of period of really big success. I'm going to put a graph on screen right now which really shows and gives you context about where Man United were and Newton Heath were as a club in this sort of era that I'm talking about. Look, so as you can see, look where Newton Heath were, and look sort of where they dropped to when they were sold and changed to Manchester United. Look, that's almost as low as they've ever been in their history. And look, even sort of between the 2 world wars, they dropped a little bit lower there. But yeah, as we'll make our way through the more modern times, I guess you guys know a lot more about that. But just look at sort of the period that I'm about to take you through now, the post Newton Heath time. Again, remember the green and gold that the fans still wear to this day when protesting things with the modern club. Look where they were. So look, they were sort of 2nd division and then dropped down. They got bought out, and then you can see, look, they increased quite a lot. They've had a few good seasons in the 2nd division before finally getting promoted. And then look, you can see they finished right at the top of the game before the First World War, and that was through that man that I just told you about, the man who came in, Ernest Magnell, the manager, who then came in and won them loads of trophies. They won promotion in 1906. They finished 2nd overall and reached the quarterfinals of the FA Cup, beating holders Villa around that time as well. Man United won their first league championship in 1908, and that was sort of the beginning of the success. They even won their first FA Cup around that time, but this place was beginning to crumble. Like I told you, it was near a chemical plant which was belching out fumes and got a load of complaints from visiting teams, especially Walsall, who demanded a match be replayed actually when they were here because the conditions were so poor. And so, as we saw from the plaque earlier, which I'm having a little look at the picture of just now that I took, 1893 to 1910 they were here, and it was because of the terrible location that this was in, really, and the complaints from the away teams that was really sort of still holding the team back. They'd won these league titles, they'd won these FA Cups, but they needed to move somewhere that matched their ambition. Just to the left of your screen right now is the Sport Academy. That is where the Women's Euros are currently playing some games, and we're right in the heart of the city complex now. The Etihad is just to our right. This bridge here takes you across to the Etihad, and the Etihad should be coming into view for you guys now. Absolutely mad that this is so close to where Man United used to play. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. We're just walking up to the stadium now, which is just through there and to the left. But look at this, Love United Hate Glazers with the green and the gold in between. So poignant how they still use these colours to this day of Newton Heath as a hark back to the old club and a sort of protest against what modern day football has become. The United fans haven't forgotten their roots, and they haven't forgotten what the Glazers have done to this club. And as just mentioned, yeah, it was Bank Street where they really started to become a big successful team. They changed, they rebranded to Manchester United, they won league titles, they won FA Cups, and it was following near bankruptcy and the renaming that chairman John Henry Davis decided in 1909 that Bank Street was not fit for the team anymore. And they'd recently won, like I say, the First Division and the FA Cup, so he donated new funds himself to build a new stadium. He was very careful about the way he spent his money. He wasn't frivolous at all, even though he was very rich. I guess people who have earned their money come from nothing and earn it like that. They don't want to spend it unnecessarily. So he himself looked for a new patch of land all around Manchester. He scouted the site himself and he found a patch of land adjacent to the Bridgewater Canal, just off the north end of the Warwick Road in Old Trafford. Now this looks like an old picture. Well, he looks a lot like Lionel Messi, doesn't he? But yeah, look, that is with one of the trophies that they'd won back in the olden days. Look at where that is. I wonder what year that's from, and I wonder if that is even here at Old Trafford. Obviously, they moved here at 1910. That looks like it could be even older than that. I wonder if that is at one of their old stadiums rather than here, when they had olden days Messi playing for him. And just look at this now behind me. Look at this modern stadium that is so synonymous with this huge football club. One of the, if not the most famous football stadium in the world. But let's have a look at it through time. Like we say, look, they moved here in 1910 and they played their first ever game against Liverpool, and Liverpool actually won here 4-3 in that first ever game. And you can look what it you can see what it looked like back then in 1910. As we move on through the years, Old Trafford hosted the first hosted an FA Cup semi-final in 1923 between Sheffield United and Bolton. And look at the horses and the police there trying to hold back the crowds. Obviously stadium safety has moved on a lot since then. We move through the years and look at that aerial shot there of it in its sort of earliest lifetime. And then look, here we go, during the Blitz it was damaged in the 40s. 1941 it was damaged in the Blitz, and it was rebuilt in 1949. And Man United actually played their home games at Man City's main road during that time. Man United won numerous titles through Busby's time here, and that is a picture of Roger Byrne lifting the league trophy in the 50s. Old Trafford was significantly redeveloped for the 1966 World Cup. Private boxes were added to what is now the Sir Alex Ferguson stand. And as you can see, look, as we move through the 70s and 80s, the ground starts to modernise. There was obviously the Taylor Report, which meant that all stadiums had to be seated post Hillsborough. And there, look, it is during 2003, an all-Italian fair as Juve played Milan in the Champions League final here. And there we go, look, Sir Alex Ferguson and more modern times with the modern players here at Old Trafford. But that is a brief story about the three stadiums of Man United. From North Road, which is now Northampton Road, to Bank Street, to Old Trafford. We always think of Man United playing at Old Trafford, but now I hope that you guys can go away to your friends, or next time you're in the pub, ask them, where did Man United start their playing days? What did they start as well? Really intriguing how we think of Manchester United and Old Trafford, but before that it was Newton Heath LYR and North Road, and then it was just Newton Heath at Bank Street, and then it was Man United at Bank Street, and now it is Man United here at Old Trafford as well. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've learned a little bit. I've learned a lot about Man United that I didn't even know before I started researching this video. Please do hit that like button if you've learned something, and if you found this interesting. Please also subscribe if you're new. I've got loads more videos planned in this kind of vein, where I'm going to be looking at clubs and their histories and going to really cool sites in England this week and next. I've got some really cool videos planned that you're not going to want to miss out on. I'll leave some videos on screen. Please click on one to carry on watching. I'll leave some Man United ones on there for you. There you go. If you're a Man United fan, click on one of them. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.